aspects of the Olympics that have played out in other cities come to the fore in Vancouver. And right now the authorities here are terrified of protests. That has become their number one threat. And they just don't want to see any embarrassment for the different levels of government. They don't want to see it on the national news. So what happened to Amy is probably going to be increasingly the pattern that we're going to see at the border. Many Americans that we know want to come up and join us in protest. It may be very hard for them to get across the border. And I would suggest that if Amy had actually admitted that she was actually going to talk about the games, which I know she wasn't, she wouldn't have gotten across the border at all.
And Chris Shaw, one other question in terms of the history of prior cities. Real estate developers and big mega projects have always benefited from these games. Is that happening there as well, that the real estate industry is being one of the prime beneficiaries?
Yes, it is. They've done very well. They basically got everything they had wanted the decade earlier. Essentially, all of their wishes came true, and it came true at taxpayers' expense. This is a great way of delivering mega projects that the developers can't finance on their own and can't find investors to go for, but they can get the taxpayers to pay for it if they slap the Olympics on. And so, yes, they've done quite well.
Is there any words of warning that David Eby, in terms of journalists coming into Canada to cover these games? Is this a concern they won't be able to do stories before if they are concerned about getting in, stories that might be critical of the Olympics, the kind of chilling effect this has on the coverage of what's going to be taking place in 2010?
Certainly very concerned about your story, Amy, and that we have protections here as well for freedom of the press through our free expression guarantees, as you do there in the United States. And it seems totally inappropriate that our Canadian Border Services Agency would be harassing journalists in this manner. We believe it's also inappropriate that they're harassing nonviolent activists in this manner as well. And the chilling effect goes across the full spectrum of anyone who may wish to report on or criticize the Olympic Games to discourage them from engaging in such activities. You know, when you cross the border, you have a very reduced expectation of privacy, and in fact, we have a case in Canada that says that it's okay for the border officials to go through your laptop as if they were searching through a piece of your luggage or something along those lines. We disagree with the finding of that decision, and in particular, we disagree with it in terms of its application against journalists who may be coming to Canada either to speak or report or investigate stories. Completely inappropriate conduct.
David Eby, Executive Director of the British Columbia Civil Liberties Association, and Chris Shaw, Professor of Ophthalmology, University of British Columbia, leading spokesperson for the No Games 2010 Coalition and the 2010 Watchbook. Five-Ring Circus, Myths and Realities of the Olympic Games. Thank you so much for being with us from Vancouver. This is Democracy Now!, democracynow.org, the War and Peace Report. Juan?